Do you think a country with a reputation for danger, chaos, and bad manners could somehow become the surprise hit of its own World Cup? Because that's exactly what's happening right now, and nobody saw it coming, not even the Americans. If you want more videos like this, hit subscribe and turn on notifications, because this story is still unfolding in real time. For years, a lot of European visitors carried around a very specific picture of the United States, one built from headlines, from politics, from whatever clips traveled furthest online. Then the 2026 World Cup happened, and hundreds of thousands of fans from Scotland, England, Germany, Sweden, France, and beyond actually showed up.
As the defending world champions Argentina go head-to-head with Egypt, the seven-time champions of Africa. Leaving the South Americans relieved to get over the line, we'll find out today.
And what they found didn't match the story they'd been told. Take Boston. An influx of Scottish supporters arrived in such numbers that locals started only half-jokingly calling the city New Scotland, with kilts turning up on street corners all over downtown. In one now viral moment, a group of Scottish fans staying in a rented house decided the neighborhood needed to hear the sound of their homeland at 6 in the morning, not through a speaker, but with actual bagpipes. It's the kind of story that sounds made up, except it isn't, and it's exactly the kind of small human chaos that ends up defining how a trip gets remembered. That's the pattern researchers who study tourism keep pointing to. A tourism professor at the University of Florida explained it simply. What feels completely ordinary to Americans, a cheerful grocery clerk, a full aisle of free ice water, reads as a genuine discovery to someone visiting from Scotland, Brazil, or Japan. It's not the landmarks that stick. It's the daily texture of a place. And hospitality specifically has come up again and again.
America, you deserve and are owed an apology. And I'm going to say sorry on behalf of all the countries outside America and their media and the narrative they paint about America.
A British entrepreneur who moved to California last year told reporters that a lot of people back home assume Americans are fake friendly on the surface, nothing underneath, and said flatly that hasn't matched her experience at all. She's not alone. Across the tournament, the same message keeps repeating across social media. Americans are turning out to be far friendlier than European visitors expected, to the point where it's become one of the unplanned storylines of the entire event. You've probably noticed the same thing if you've spent any time comparing travel culture. In much of Europe, service is efficient, but reserved to a stranger striking up a 20-minute conversation about football with someone they just met at a gas station isn't really the norm. In the US, it apparently is. Fans have described exactly that. Casual conversations with strangers that started because someone spotted a jersey and just kept going. Would you rather have hyper-efficient, low-interaction service everywhere you go, or a slower system where the person ringing you up asks where you're from and actually means it? Because that's the trade-off a lot of these visitors say they didn't expect to be making. And a lot of them are landing on the second option.
I was saying I loved America before it was popular to say. For a while, it was trending online that everything about America was negative. I just could not pretend my experience wasn't positive here. It was genuinely the best decision I've ever made in my entire life. As a permanent resident of the country that I've dreamed of living in, and I'm so happy we worked so hard to get it.
Then there's scale. And nothing has captured that quite like a single gas station chain out of Texas. Buc-ee's, a chain with locations covering hundreds of thousands of square feet, its own snack category, and restrooms famous enough to be a genuine tourist draw, has become one of the unexpected cultural stars of the entire tournament. A Scottish visitor summed it up online as something like a gas station merged with a theme park and wrapped inside a gift shop. And honestly, it's hard to argue with that description.
At the far post, Ibrahim, he's the one that attacks the ball. It's a fantastic ball across the face. Far post, cuts it back. They all look on.
A Korean visitor documented his own trip through the chain with the tone of a wildlife explorer stumbling onto something new, specifically calling out the size of the food. American commentators picked up on the whole phenomenon too, joking that watching Europeans discover buc-ees has been one of their favorite parts of the entire World Cup. It's not just the buildings, it's what comes out of them. Free refills on soft drinks, something visitors from countries where you pay per glass and often don't even get ice were completely unprepared for, turned into its own recurring theme. One Italian fan's reaction to bottomless, ice-cold refills went viral purely because of how genuinely delighted he looked. It sounds small. It clearly wasn't for him.
We owe apologies to America because their football stadiums are so much better than ours. This is the Dallas Stadium and it is absolutely incredible. England's just beating Croatia.
Food culture in general has ended up being one of the biggest storylines of the whole trip, arguably bigger than a lot of people predicted going in. Ranch dressing, of all things, became something close to a phenomenon. A Swedish fan's enthusiastic social media post about discovering it triggered a chain reaction of other visitors adding, "Find the best ranch in America" to their itineraries before they'd even tried it themselves.
Buc-ees has slushes, coffee, sandwiches, bikinis. Everything you want. Everything you want.
The portions here are really big. You guys eat a lot, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, we don't have the slice shops in the UK, so that's very different.
Yeah, also, I mean, the bagels here are obviously amazing. We do have bagels in the UK, obviously, but this is next level bagels, I think.
It got serious enough that the Transportation Security Administration had to publicly remind travelers that ranch dressing technically counts as a liquid for security purposes, which is not a sentence anyone expected to write about a World Cup. Fried chicken had its own moment too. A Scottish supporter's reaction to a Raising Cane's location in Boston went viral for sheer enthusiasm, and it wasn't an isolated case. Visitors kept circling back to the same theme. American portion sizes and flavor intensity hitting differently than what they were used to at home. One Australian visitor's reaction to a Texas roadhouse went viral, specifically because he called it a fancy restaurant. And by American standards, it very much isn't, which was exactly the joke that made it land. Would you rather eat smaller, more controlled portions your whole life, or walk into a restaurant and get visibly overwhelmed by what shows up on the plate? Because a lot of these visitors are experiencing that exact culture shock for the first time on camera. Underneath all of this, there's a bigger theme that keeps surfacing: the gap between the America people expected and the one they actually found. Multiple visitors have said, in different words, that they came in expecting the country to be more dangerous, more chaotic, even more dystopian than it turned out to be, based entirely on what they'd absorbed from media coverage and political rhetoric back home. One widely shared reaction put it about as bluntly as it gets: that America owes nobody an apology, but that visitors themselves felt they owed the country one. because it turned out to be nothing like what they'd been told. That doesn't mean every reaction has been glowing. Tipping culture continues to genuinely confuse a lot of European visitors, many of whom come from countries where service charges are built in or tips are much smaller. It's one of the few areas where the culture shock runs the other way, where the American system reads as more complicated, not more impressive.
It's so big. It's huge. How far does this go? It goes so far. There's a Starbucks inside of it. Yeah.
And that's arguably the most useful part of the whole story. This isn't a one-sided highlight reel. It's a live ongoing negotiation between expectation and reality, playing out across thousands of individual, unscripted moments. A Swedish fan in a cowboy hat. A Scottish crowd turning a Boston neighborhood into a pipe band at sunrise. An academic pointing out that people remember the volunteer who helped them find the train station long after they've forgotten the final score. One communications professor summed up why this moment matters beyond just being funny internet content. These small, viral, everyday interactions are quietly doing more to reshape global opinion of the U.S. than almost any official messaging campaign could. Precisely because they're not official messaging at all. They're just strangers, cameras, and unscripted reactions. So here's the real question underneath all of it. Would you rather judge a country by its headlines or by 6 weeks of strangers standing in gas stations, genuinely stunned by free ice? Because for a huge number of people who showed up for football and left with a completely different picture of the United States, that second option is starting to look a lot more honest.
Not even looking at the goalkeeper, he's decided he's just going to pick a spot.
So developing something of a reputation in such situations. Now, Molina, that's a decent-looking ball, and a point-blank save! What a stop that was to deny Alexis McAllister, but here come Argentina again.
I know there's going to be moments in the game. This is that ball from DePaul. Great ball in, McAllister. He has it covered, Mustafa Shabir, but I think it's
DePaul. A little bit loose and conceding possession, and Messi will look to try to take advantage.
He does well, really well.
If this kind of cultural collision fascinates you as much as it fascinates us, like this video, share it with someone who'd argue with you about it, and subscribe so you don't miss the next one. Because this tournament still has weeks left, and this story is nowhere near over. This video is a compilation drawn from public news reporting, social media posts, and traveler accounts shared during the 2026 FIFA World Cup, put together for entertainment and discussion. It doesn't claim to represent the full social reality, official policy, or universal experience of any country, and individual stories here should be understood as specific illustrations, not blanket truths. We're not responsible for decisions made based on this video just here, to look at a genuinely interesting cultural moment together.